Why?
Because Americans deserve better!
We got it. All right. For this last part, if we could get this half to start off the next cheer, and then we'll have this side follow up with the second statement.
So we're starting?
You guys can start. Yeah, okay. I like that.
All right. New generation
Of American leadership!
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 We want candidates.
We share our values!
We want candidates.
Who share our values!
We want candidates.
Who share our values!
Evan!
Oh,
Evan! McMullin! Evan! McMullin! Evan! McMullin! Vote your conscience!
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so thanks everybody for coming. We're super excited, and if you're wondering why I'm qualified to be up here doing this, it's because I have a phone and an internet connection, and I thought, why don't I call Olympia and see if we're allowed to go do something out there on the steps? And suddenly I was in charge of it. And I feel like that story perfectly exemplifies everything that's happening in this campaign. It's completely grassroots in every sense of that phrase. I feel like it's really political action for the people, by the people, of the people. A lot of times at the expense of the laundry piles of the people and the sleep schedules of the people and the work deadlines of the people right now, but everybody's just working really hard to get this done. One of the most exciting things that I've ever done, and I did not think 3 months ago that I'd be saying that about anything to do with this election. So we're really glad you're here, and this is how it's happening. We are what's making this happen, so I'm so glad everybody's here. We're going to start out with Jen Ritchie is going to come up and talk a little bit about Evan and why we're voting for him, and then Carol's going to talk about how to get involved, and then I'm going to talk about why this matters in Washington State, because that's the question I get a lot when I'm talking to media or other people. Why does it matter in Washington State? And it does. So we're going to start with Jen Ritchie.
Thanks, Catherine. All right, like she said, my name is Jennifer Ritchie, and a few months ago I had no idea who I was going to vote for, and frankly I was just disgusted with the options that we've been given. In Washington, we've talked about it a lot, we really had no choice in the matter. So I came from a family with a lot of government workers and military service members, and I've had a father and siblings who have served overseas. And a few months ago, like I said, I didn't know who to vote for, and frankly it was because I was very fearful of Clinton being president and having even more control over the safety of my family members. However, fear is not a very good reason to vote for someone, right? And so I was getting really frustrated, really angry, and then I read a blog post by the person you just heard from, Catherine, and I started reading about Evan McMullin, and I started watching videos, and I just started really getting excited. Like, wow, this is someone who believes a lot of the same things that I believe in, mainly that we should have liberty in our country, that we should have equality in our country, and that the government should be small in this country, exactly as it was meant to be by our founding fathers. And so, who is this person, Evan McMullin? He's a native to Washington. He was born in Provo, Utah, and his family moved here, and so he grew up most of his young years here and graduated from high school. As a teenager, he wrote for the high school newspaper in Auburn, and one of the articles that he wrote about was the homeless population in Seattle, and the Salt Lake Tribune wrote an article about him and said that he spent a few nights in a homeless shelter downtown and walked the streets during the day And I just thought, wow, that is amazing that someone that young thought that the best way to understand another person was to put themselves as much as he could into their shoes. And exactly. And so through, after that, the Salt Lake Tribune article goes on to call him an unorthodox presidential contender who has led an unusual life. First with a career in the CIA, a few years as an investment banker, and most recently as a congressional staffer. And here's a quote from that article regarding why Evan McMullin is running for president. Okay, and I am not seeming to have the quote. It did not come through. But that's okay. I will just summarize.
Because it wasn't too late to do the right thing.
Oh no, look, I do have it. I really like it because it's straight from his words, and yes, it's never too late to do the right thing. This is what they said about him. One thing about McMullin, he is not delusional. He knows Democrat Hillary Clinton is likely to win the election, and he is aware his independent bid could have ruined his career. But as he considered his options and prayed, he believed voters deserved a conservative alternative to Trump. So when Mitt Romney, sitting senators, and other well-known Republicans said no, what did he say?
Yes!
Yes! This is a quote from him, from Evan McMullin directly. Someone had to stand up for the basic truth that all are created equal. Any fear for my own discrediting, for example, for the mockery or whatever I might experience, that wasn't a good enough reason not to do what I strongly felt was the right thing. So, what is the right thing to do? Evan McMullin has based his campaign on these 13 principles for new American leadership. And if I have called you to come up here, can you come on up right now? Thank you. Number 13, healthy immigration is important to our future. Number 12, our Second Amendment rights must be protected. Number 11, all Americans should have access to affordable, quality health care. Number 10, national defense is primarily a federal government responsibility. Number 9, we must protect life from birth to natural death. Number 8, we must help people in poverty to overcome it. Number 7, government must promote a free market. Number 6, our leaders must be fiscally responsible. Number 5, we share responsibility for service and civic duty. Number 4, our leaders must be honest and wise. Number 3, government power must be separated and balanced. Power back to the states. Number 2, we honor our Constitution. And the reason why I have all these people up here is because of number 1, which really endeared Evan McMullin to me. Our basic rights are God-given. Every American is created equal and has the same right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The fundamental purpose of government is to secure, not define, these rights for every member of our diverse society. And that is why we are voting for Evan McMullin.
Thank you. Carol, you're on, girl.
Okay, my name's Carol Miskin. I'm the King County volunteer leader for Evan McMullin, and I'm supposed to tell you, well, I accepted that assignment because of my story. So my story is that over the last few elections I've been doing write-ins. So I'm pretty experienced at this now, and I did vote for Romney, but when he wasn't running officially, I would write his name in. I didn't know you had to be registered or any of that. I just was so fed up with my choices then, let alone now. So I heard about Better for America that said they were going to find an alternative to an alternative to the Republicans and Democrats selections. And so I waited and waited and waited, and nobody showed up, nobody showed up, nobody showed up. Finally, I heard something on the news or the internet that they said, there's a new independent that's going to run for president. And I thought, yes, this is it. So I said, I'm 90% there. I got to find out who it is first. Lost. And so, so when I found out who he was and what he was and what more about him, I just fell in love with the whole idea that we could have somebody so wholesome and honest and truthful, and he has pledged to tell the truth this whole campaign. And so he said some things that are mighty uncomfortable and he says that I may have totally ruined my career by doing this, but I think not. I think we're going to stick with him after the campaign's over. Anyway, so I got a call from the woman in Pasco, and she's the Kaylee's the leader for all of Washington, and she wanted to know, and I said, well, I want to make yard signs or whatever I can do. And she said, well, would you be in charge of King County? And I said, what? Be in charge? I said, I'm a caregiver for my 93-year-old father with dementia, and I can hardly leave home, you know. So, but when I found out that Evan was running, I made a solemn promise to myself and to my Creator that I would do everything I could to help him. So when she asked, then I could not say no. So you have to have been successful in spite of me a lot of times. And the Three Musketeers from the east side have really taken hold and done a lot of organizing, and I'm indebted to them for a lot. So what I have for you today is I have buttons for everybody who showed up, and you can buy more for $1. I have a lot of yard signs without stakes on them that you can buy, or I have them with stakes that you can buy that are off yonder. And I have literature you can take home. I have a Facebook group page that you can go and get the files and make your own. If you go down to the library, if your library will let you print for free, you can print for free and do a lot of literature that way. We've got, what, 8 days left or something like that? 7? 11. Oh.
That's a lot more time to put our posters.
Well, you want to get it in by November 4th, get it in the mail, so that's why you probably said so. So no, I'll take any excuse you want to give me, but the real reason is that I've lost track of time. Yeah. And the thing is, if you're a BYU fan, you know that the game's not over till it's over. A lot of things can happen. Or if you believe in any other kind of miracle, you know that this by itself is a miracle. That somebody would stand up. Stephen Colbert said on his show last night, a guy could stand up and people would follow him, and he's going to probably win a state. He says it's a state you've never heard of and never been to. But that's not true because we're in the West. Nevertheless, I am humbled by his willingness to do this, and the time seems right for him, and so my pledge to support him goes after November 8th for whatever he can stir up to do. And I hope sometimes he gets a little personal time for his life, because he's spent all of his life so far in service of this country, and he would make a great president. If for somehow he can get there, he will make a great president. So let's give him 3 cheers for Evan. Evan! 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 Woo! I asked them why they wanted me to do this. Was it inspiration or desperation? And they said, well, we like outspoken people.
Outspoken people will rule the world. Okay, so my little area is why Evan matters in Washington State. And why are we working so hard to promote a candidate for a write-in where the odds are so far against him, especially in our state? And I'll tell you why. So in Washington State, I felt like conservatives, and a lot of us felt like conservatives, never really had a voice in the primary elections. By the time the primaries came to Washington State, Donald Trump was the only name on the ballot. I abstained from voting in the Republican primaries because he was the only person I could vote for, and I could not do it. So then we're left with 2 choices. We have 2 candidates that many of us feel are completely unacceptable, and they could potentially harm our country in so many ways. I'm not going to get into them right here because we're positive and we're for Evan. We're not against other people right now. But I've been told many times by Trump supporters that if I vote for Evan McMullin, then I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. And I've been told by Hillary Clinton supporters if I vote for him, then I am voting for Donald Trump, which makes absolutely no sense to me because I have come to the firm decision that I will not play the odds in this election. I'm not going to practice statistical democracy, where I look and I try to figure out all the situations, and if I do this, then maybe these people will do that, and what will it count? I can't do that anymore. And I feel like that's the reason we're in the trouble that we're in right now, is too many people are playing the odds with their vote, and they're not voting for the person they think would be best in office. Yes. And yeah, I'm over it. I cannot do it anymore. And there's been a ton of analogies and all the memes and all these, you know, we've all been watching and following this, I think a lot of us obsessively online. But analogy that I was thinking about this morning was if somebody came up to me, I have 3 beautiful children, and I have huge hopes for them in their lives. And if someone came up to me and said, you can choose, would you rather if your children lost the gift of sight or the gift of hearing? But you get to pick which one they lose. And I think about it and I just get really, really depressed. And then somebody comes out and says, you know what? You can choose neither. You can choose something better. You can choose for them to have an amazing life with all of their senses intact, but it's going to be really hard. And you have to work hard, and you can't do it alone. You're going to need to gather all the most caring, passionate, loud,
and slightly crazy
that you know, and they're all going to have to fight with you to make this happen. And it's a long shot. Of course I'm going to fight for my children. I am going to fight for their future. I'm going to fight with everything I have for that possibility, rather than saying, I guess they can be blind, it's fine, they don't need their eyes. You know, so I'm not following that line of thinking. We're campaigning for Evan in Washington State because we want people to know that they have another choice. We want them to know that it's not Siskel and Ebert, thumbs up, thumbs down on who we want for President of the United States. It's not a binary choice. There are a lot of options. Frankly, there's only one option that has a chance of taking a state this election, and for the last 60 years, and that's Evan McMullin. We're also supporting Evan and Mindy in Washington State because we want to give hope to Americans that change is coming, that there are a lot of good people that have been sitting quietly. I have never been openly involved in politics in my life. Honestly, not until like the last month, and it was suddenly like I felt this calling I needed to do this. I'm the person that blocks you from my Facebook feed if you're posting things from Fox News. I'm the person that when they start a political discussion over here, I'm like, let's talk about kittens, and I move off to the side. Amen. And I think that makes up tons of Evan supporters. I've researched, I do my due diligence, I always vote, but I've been so depressed and frustrated in this election that I have been shutting it out. And when I heard about Evan, I started getting excited. And I'm obviously not a professional political operative, but I'm the kind of person that's supporting Evan, and that kind of person is an American who cares about this country and wants good things to happen. So we're providing all the disillusioned people in this country, which is, I believe, more than half of the people here, something to fight for and to say, look at Utah right now. It's like the little state that could. They went in about 2 weeks from having 10% of the vote to having over 30 and taking the lead in Utah State. And I feel like everyone, not just in our country, but in the world, people are talking about Utah on news broadcasts all over the world because there's a group of people that said, I'm going to stand up for what's right and we can actually make a difference.
Yes.
Amen.
So I am so excited. A lot of people have called this election sort of a civil war for the Republican Party or for conservatives in this country, that we're fighting against each other. I don't like that analogy. I like to think of it more as an American Revolution. Civil war is like 2 equal sides going at it. This is like a small, scrappy, grassroots band of idealists who are like, we're going to stand up to the man. We're going to make something happen, and it's happening in ways that has never happened before. Social media has completely changed the political landscape in this country. Evan has taken advantage of that. All of his followers have taken advantage of that, and we are making something completely historic happen, regardless of what the outcome is on November 8th.
That's right. Yeah.
So why are we here at the Capitol building? I live in Duval, but we came out here to be at the Capitol building. It's symbolic. It's a place where things happen, where laws are made. But it's partly because we want to challenge everyone who's here not to stop after this election, and not just to think about this as a vote for the president, but think about it as a new generation of American leadership in your city, in your state, with your state legislature. Reach out to your public servants, the people that are representing you here in Washington State. If you don't know who they are, don't be embarrassed by that. A lot of people don't. Search online, who are my representatives, and you can type in your address and zip code and find out who they are, and there's an easy way to contact them. I'm challenging everybody here to find out who their local Washington State legislators are, their senator and their members of the House. Reach out to them and say, I want you to know that people in your constituency are supporters of Evan McMullin, and that we're not just going to swallow whatever we're fed by the two major parties. We choose principle over party. We stand for what's right. We don't stand for what we're told to do. And we're going to be making noise, and we're watching you, and we want to know if you'll stand up for real principles and real leadership. Just reach out and send them that.
Yeah.
You do not need to know how to do everything. You do not need to have every piece of information in the world to do something, to make a difference. So tell your legislators what you want. Tell them who you are, what you stand for, and what you want, and have them take that in January into the legislative session in Washington State so they can make a difference on a local level where it matters. And as Evan supporters and as conservatives largely, that's what he's fighting for us to have the ability to make a difference on the ground level in our state where it matters. So we are going to push for that leadership. So I'm inviting everybody to stand up, to stand strong, and stand with Evan McMullin and Mindy Finn, and God bless America. All right. So Carol is going to lead us in singing. Are we going to do the national anthem?
How about God Bless America?
God bless America? Okay.
Segue if I ever heard one.
When we're done here, we're going to sing this song. We're going to make our way up. We have the rotunda. We've got a podium in there. And I would love for everybody to get people to take turns getting up and just explaining what's your why. Why are you here? Why do you think this is important? And what you're going to do about it.
Okay, you know, God bless America. God bless America. So, I'm an alto. I'm gonna say we'll start. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, marked with snow. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. All right.
We're a new Evan McMullin choir. Let's move over, Motab, right? Okay.
We can sing some more in the warmth
In the
of
rotunda, and we'll have good echoing so that amazing singing can be heard by lots of people in there.
Well,
Okay.
it's kind of like the shower. It gets better.
Yes, exactly. It always gets better as it's amplified, right? Okay, so head in. I will put this area for you.